Hi, I'm Ian McGugan of the Report on Business. I'm here today with my good friend and very bearish colleague, Brian Milner, who I understand is quite concerned about the outlook for the global economy.
Well, it's true. You know, China, commodities, oil, everything you read makes you say, holy mackerel, it's only going to get worse. And I just don't see any huge bright spots out there to change my opinion. But maybe you could do that.
Well, of course I can, because you're fundamentally wrong on this. But I just wanted, first of all, to get on the table the fact that some prominent economists have also been predicting global recession.
Citibank, unfortunately, employs one who's naturally bearish, Willem Biters, and he has said that there's a 55% chance of a full-on global recession next year.
Okay, now here's my trouble with that forecast. I look around the world and I see cheap energy prices, cheap commodity prices, and low interest rates. To me, that's a very pro-growth environment.
It may well be true for the U.S. economy, but it doesn't appear to be anywhere else. The fact is that, in fact, prices are going to continue going down for commodities. Oil hasn't reached its bottom yet. And all those exporting countries that were building economies on this super cycle are in serious trouble. So we're looking at slower growth in key markets. And the U.S. is virtually self-sufficient. So if they don't buy a lot of this other stuff, and they don't need a lot of it, then you look to China, as they always have in the past, and China just isn't buying the way they used to. That causes a real problem for global trade.
But Brian, I mean, any fall off in the income of the commodity exporting countries is going to be matched by an increase in the wealth of those countries that import commodities and no longer have to pay such high prices.
In theory, but the only other economy that's doing reasonably well, apart from the United States right now, is the British economy. And the British economy has problems of its own, including a bubble in real estate and other problems. And they're not about to raise interest rates either. If they were actually growing as strongly as people thought, they would be doing that. The U.S. would too, but the Fed obviously has concerns about the sustainability of the U.S. growth model. The real problem that we face because of China is that much of the world is now tied into it globally, and that's having a knockdown effect all over the world.
But China's only 15% of the global economy. I fail to see how a reduction in 15% of the global economy could drag us all into recession.
And that much of trade as well. China was driving a lot of the commodity growth. People were investing and building with the hope of selling to China. That investment is drying up, and we're not seeing it replaced by anything else in very key commodities.
Well, Brian, I guess we'll just have to see how this scenario plays out. I don't think your bearish fantasies are going to come true, but we'll see.
Well, load up on commodity companies, and we'll see who's broke at the end of this.
Until next time, thanks, Brian.